I learned how to love you without standing beside you. And strangely, that kind of love stayed with me longer than any other. I didn't fall in love with you loudly. There was no moment where everything stopped. No dramatic beginning. No confession that changed the direction of my life. It happened quietly. So quietly that I almost didn't notice it at first. You were just there, in the background of my days, in the way your name appeared on my phone more often than anyone else's, in the way I started noticing things I'd never cared about before, because you cared about them. You didn't step into my life. You slowly became part of it. And I think that's why letting go never felt sudden. It felt like something that had been happening for a long time, even while I was still holding on. I loved you from afar, not because distance was romantic, not because it was easier, but because loving you up close would have required things neither of us could give. Timing, certainty, a version of ourselves that didn't exist yet. So I learned another way. I learned how to love you quietly. I loved you in small, invisible ways. By remembering the way you liked your coffee, by saving songs I knew you would understand, by noticing when you were tired, even when you said you were fine. I learned your moods through your silence, your worries through the pauses in your voice, your happiness through the way you talked faster when you were excited. You never had to tell me how you felt. I was already listening. Loving you from afar meant never asking for more, never asking where this was going, never asking what I meant to you, never asking if you ever thought about me the way I thought about you. Because some questions, once spoken, change everything. And I wasn't ready to lose what we had just to know what it was called. There's a strange safety in loving someone from a distance. You don't argue. You don't disappoint each other. You don't break anything. You exist in each other's lives softly, like background music you don't realize you need until it's gone. I watched you grow, not from beside you, but from somewhere slightly behind. I watched you become more confident, more tired, more aware of who you were becoming. And I was proud of you in a way I never said out loud. Because pride is loud, and my love was not. Sometimes I wondered if you ever felt it. Not love, but the presence of something unspoken, that quiet pull, that gentle familiarity, the way conversations felt easy, even when we talked about nothing important, the way silence never felt awkward, the way leaving always took longer than expected. I never asked you to stay, and you never promised to. That was the unspoken agreement between us. We existed without expectation, without demands, without guarantees. And somehow, that made it feel real. Loving you from afar meant learning how to sit with longing. Not the aching kind, but the soft, constant kind. The kind that lives quietly in your chest. The kind that doesn't interrupt your life, but colors it. You were there in random moments. When I heard a song you would like, when I passed a place you once mentioned, when I laughed at something and instinctively thought you would understand this. There were days I almost reached out, days when the distance felt unnecessary, days when I thought, maybe now. But then I remembered, loving you wasn't the problem. Expecting something from you was. So I stayed where I was, close enough to care, far enough not to interfere. I became good at that distance. I learned how to be present without being needed, how to support you without being seen, how to care without asking for reassurance. And I think that's when I realized this love was changing me, not into someone louder, but into someone gentler. You never belonged to me, and I never tried to make you. Because loving someone doesn't always mean claiming space in their life. Sometimes it means respecting the space they already have. I saw you fall in love once, not with me. And it didn't break me the way people expect. It hurt, but softly. Like realizing a door had always been closed, even while I stood near it. I didn't feel replaced. I felt understood. Because if someone else could give you what I never could, then loving you from afar was still the right choice. I didn't step back. I simply stayed where I had always been. There's a kind of love that asks for everything, and there's a kind of love that asks for nothing. Mine was the second kind, not because I didn't want more, but because wanting more would have changed who I was with you. And I didn't want to lose that version of myself. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we had tried. But the question no longer keeps me awake, because the truth is, some loves are not meant to be tested. They are meant to be carried. I carry you lightly, not in pain, not in regret, but in memory. In the way you taught me that love doesn't always need a future. That connection doesn't always need a label. That caring deeply doesn't require being chosen. I am not waiting for you, and I am not hoping for anything to change. But there will always be a quiet place in me where your name feels familiar. Not heavy, not sad, just warm. Loving you from afar was never about distance. It was about restraint, about patience, about choosing gentleness over desire. And maybe that's why this love didn't fade. It settled. Some people leave marks on our lives not because they stayed, but because they changed how we love. You changed me, not by staying, but by being exactly who you were. And if someday you wonder whether someone loved you without ever asking for proof, I hope you feel it in the quiet moments, in the calm, in the absence of pressure, in the ease of being yourself. Because somewhere, once, someone loved you that way, from afar, softly, and without regret.